Right, let's talk drifting. It's not just about getting from A to B, is it? Oh no, it's about how spectacularly, how sideways, how smokily you can make that journey. It's a mechanical ballet, a tire-shredding opera performed at the very limits of adhesion. The roar of the engine, the shriek of tortured rubber, the crowd going absolutely bonkers. It's an assault on the senses in the best possible way. You're not just driving, you're conducting an orchestra of chaos, and the throttle pedal is your baton. It's pure, unadulterated automotive theater, and frankly, it's utterly addictive. The heart of this glorious madness? The engine, of course. A drift car's motor isn't just a lump of metal, it's the soul of the machine. It's the powerhouse that transforms a mere car into a sideways missile. We crave that instant, brutal power that can break traction at a moment's notice, sending the rear end on its merry way. It's about having enough grunt to keep those wheels spinning, even when the car is at an absurd angle, defying physics and common sense. This isn't about top speed on a boring straight, this is about explosive acceleration and controllable mayhem. Now, when we say a fast engine for drifting, we're not talking about chasing land speed records. Forget your Veyrons and your Koenigsegg's for a moment. In the world of sideways shenanigans, fast means something entirely different. It's about responsiveness, it's about torque, and it's about how quickly that engine can deliver its punch. You need power that's there, right now, the instant you demand it with your right foot. Lag is the enemy here. A hesitant engine can mean the difference between a heroic drift and an embarrassing spin into the scenery. Think of it like this: a drag racer wants an engine that builds power for a massive, straight-line explosion. A circuit racer wants an engine with a broad power band for consistent lap times. A drifter needs an engine that's like a coiled spring, ready to unleash its energy with a snap of the fingers. You need to be able to modulate the throttle with precision, feeding in or backing off power to control the angle and speed of the drift. Alright, so you're convinced you need a proper drift engine, but where do you start? The engine block itself is the foundation, the very core of your future tire-slaying machine. Choosing the right one is crucial. You wouldn't bring a knife to a gunfight, and you certainly wouldn't bring a wheezy 1-liter 3-cylinder to a drift competition, would you? Well, you could, but it might be a very short and rather quiet competition for you. You need something with potential, something that can handle the stresses and strains of a life lived sideways. Popular choices often come from Japan, and for good reason. Think of Toyota's legendary 2JZ GTE, the heart of the MKIV Supra. It's a 6-cylinder iron block titan, famous for its ability to handle frankly ludicrous amounts of power. Or Nissan's RB series, particularly the RB25DT and RB26 Diet. These are also inline-6 powerhouses that have proven themselves time and time again on the drift scene. They have strong internals from the factory, and a massive aftermarket, meaning parts and knowledge are plentiful. These engines just love to be tuned and thrive on boost. But it's not just about Japanese muscle. American V8s, like the Chevrolet LS series, have become incredibly popular in drifting. So, you've got your chosen engine block, good start. But often, in its standard, naturally aspirated form, it might still be a bit, shall we say, asthmatic for serious drifting. This is where forced induction comes into play, and it's usually the quickest way to bolt on a massive dose of horsepower and torque. We're talking turbochargers or superchargers. These magical devices are essentially air pumps, ramming more air into your engine's cylinders than it could ever suck in on its own. More air means you can burn more fuel, and more fuel means a bigger bang. Simple, really. Turbochargers are the darlings of the drift world. They use exhaust gases which would otherwise be wasted to spin a turbine. This turbine is connected to another wheel, a compressor which crams air into the engine. It's wonderfully efficient, like recycling your engine's own farts to make it go faster. The result can be a monumental increase in power. A well-chosen turbo can transform a mild-mannered engine into an absolute fire-breathing monster, capable of vaporizing tires on command. Section 5. Let it breathe, intake roar, and exhaust thunder. An engine, at its core, is an air pump. The more air it can efficiently move in and out, the more power it can potentially make. So, once you've decided on your engine and perhaps even added forced induction, the next logical step is to look at how your engine breathes. We're talking about the intake system, which brings air in, and the exhaust system, which gets rid of the spent gases. Optimizing these can unlock hidden horsepower, improve throttle response, and, as a very welcome bonus, make your drift car sound absolutely epic. Let's start with the intake. The factory airbox and filter are often designed more for quietness and everyday usability than for outright performance. Swapping to a high-flow air filter and a less restrictive intake pipe can make a noticeable difference. For turbocharged cars, a good quality front-mount intercooler is essential. The turbo compresses air, which heats it up. Hot air is less dense, meaning less oxygen for combustion. Section 6. The Digital Maestro ECU tuning for ultimate control. Right, you've got your beefy engine, maybe a turbo whistling away, and it's breathing freely through a performance intake and exhaust. Fantastic. But all that lovely hardware is a bit like an orchestra without a conductor if you don't have the brains to control it properly. That's where the Engine Control Unit, or ECU, and proper tuning come in. The ECU is the electronic brain of your engine, managing critical parameters like fuel injection, ignition timing, and, if you're turbocharged, boost pressure. Getting this right is absolutely paramount. Factory ECUs are programmed with a set of compromises in mind: fuel economy, emissions, drivability for the average Joe. When you start modifying your engine, especially with things like forced induction or aggressive camshafts, the factory map just won't cut it. It won't know how to properly fuel the engine for the increased airflow or when to ignite the mixture for optimal power. This can lead to poor performance, or worse, catastrophic engine damage. Knock knock? That's the sound of your pistons saying goodbye if the tuning is off. Section 7. Beyond raw power. Reliability and cooling are king. Making big horsepower numbers is one thing. Making that power reliably, lap after lap, drift after drift, is another entirely. In drifting, engines are subjected to incredible stress. You're constantly near the red line, generating immense heat, and putting huge loads on internal components. If you neglect the supporting systems, particularly cooling and lubrication, your glorious fire-breathing engine will quickly turn into a very expensive, very hot paperweight. Reliability isn't glamorous, but it's absolutely king if you actually want to spend time drifting rather than fixing. Cooling is critical. A drift car spends a lot of time sideways, which can reduce airflow through the radiator compared to straight-line driving. Plus, a high-powered engine, especially a turbocharged one, generates a colossal amount of heat. An upgraded larger aluminum radiator with high-flow electric fans is often one of the first reliability mods. A lower temperature thermostat can also help. Don't forget oil cooling either. An external oil cooler is a very wise investment to keep oil temperatures stable, ensuring it can do its job of lubricating and protecting those hard-working engine internals. Section 8. Lessons from the Pro's Secrets from the Sideways Elite. If you want to know how to build a fast and effective drift engine, who better to learn from than the professionals? These are the folks who push their machines to the absolute limit, event after event. Watching professional drift series like Formula Drift or the Drift Masters European Championship, you'll see a wide variety of engine setups, but there are common themes and clever tricks they employ. They understand that it's not just about peak power, but about the complete package power delivery, reliability, and serviceability. Many pro drifters like James Dean or Vaughn Gittin Jr. run incredibly powerful engines, often well over 1,000 horsepower. But look closely, and you'll see meticulous attention to detail. Their engine bays are often works of art, with carefully routed plumbing and wiring. They use top-tier components because failures on track are costly. They also work closely with expert tuners to dial in their engine maps for specific tracks and conditions. They might even have different maps for qualifying versus competition, or for wet versus dry conditions. Section 9. Dodging the gremlins. Common pitfalls and your escape route. Building a fast drift engine is an exciting journey, but it's one fraught with potential pitfalls. It's easy to get carried away with chasing big numbers or cutting corners, only to end up with an unreliable money pit, or worse, a pile of broken metal. Knowing the common mistakes and how to avoid them can save you a world of pain, frustration, and expense. The goal is to spend more time shredding tires and less time scratching your head over a stubbornly silent engine bay. So, let's talk about dodging those gremlins. One of the biggest mistakes is skimping on the tune or trying to do it yourself without the proper knowledge and equipment. As we've discussed, the ECU tune is what ties everything together. A bad tune on a modified engine is a recipe for disaster. It can lead to detonation, melted pistons, or bent rods. Always invest in a professional tune from a reputable expert who understands performance engines, especially if you're running forced induction. It's the single most important step after the mechanical work is done. Don't be a hero. Let the pros handle the laptop.